Have you ever seen a ghost?
You can feel it. You can feel like things, noises. You can feel something in the air or something that causes you to think.
Your hair goes up on the back of your neck and it goes cold.
You just feel as if someone's there.
A pub that is rumoured to be haunted.
There was things that went on late in the night. She went into a room and the door behind her slammed.
I'm a believer now. I really, really am. Welcome to Three Landlords Walk into a Bar, brought to you by Heineken Smart Dispense. This is a podcast where we will not only celebrate one of the UK's finest exports, the pub, but we take you behind the bar, sharing the stories surrounding some of the UK's most unique, unusual and incredible pubs and the people behind them. I'm Jodie Kidd, model, TV presenter and automotive YouTuber.
And I'm Merlin Griffiths, the man that most people know as the bartender from First Dates.
Yay!
But what a lot of people probably don't know about the both of us is that we both run and own our own pubs.
For our sins. So, Merlin, I want to start today by asking, have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, in my first pub, little old lady, she was standing on the corner of my shoulder at the back of the bar when I was making a coffee. And I know she was there because I could see her watching me. I could see like what I thought was a reflection of her watching me in a coffee machine. And I thought it was somebody actually there. I turned around, there's nobody there. And I was on my own in the pub. This was about 5:30, 6 in the morning, waiting for the dray to turn up.
So you're a believer.
Freaked me out.
You are. All right, it's time to introduce you to today's guest because this is no ordinary pub story. Imagine stepping into an old, abandoned pub, dust settling on the bar, the air thick with history. You bring it back to life, ready to pour the perfect pint, but then you start hearing whispers, footsteps, and then there's no one there, a little bit like your old lady. Glasses start moving on their own. That is exactly what's happened to our next guest.
This pub wasn't just sitting empty. It had been closed for over a decade before he took it over, and with a past stretching back centuries, you can bet it came with more than just a bit of history. Question is, how do you breathe life into a place like that while keeping its soul intact?
Exactly. And more importantly, would you stay overnight alone in it? We'll find out as we welcome Mark Chalmers, the general manager of the White Lion in Stockport, in just a moment.
Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
What do you think, in your mind, what makes the perfect pint?
Well, first of all, you got to pour it correctly.
Yep.
Yes, I mean. And obviously make sure that sort of everything is right with how the glass is, how it's looking to the customer. You know what I mean? Because obviously most people that come to the bar, they kind of they see everything through their eyes. They don't actually go on the taste. So I think things like that are important to make sure that it looks well, especially when the customer's looking at you and hopefully doing a good job.
Yeah, interesting that you went on what it looks like rather than the taste.
Yeah, always.
These days now is that most people, if they don't see the bubbles or they don't see a nice frothy head, it's flat.
Yeah.
It's flat.
God,
it's flat. It's no good, that.
Yeah, you're northwest though, you see. The further south you go, the less bubbles people seem to want.
Yeah.
Right?
In our pubs, when we get some people from the down south, I don't want no head in me beer. I want it nothing.
Right, Mark. So you've just taken over a pub that is haunted.
Yeah.
So how old is the pub?
So it dates back to the 1400s.
Oh, wow.
From there, it's always been kind of like a part of Stockport in the sense of being a hotel, guest house, coaching house, pub. Over the years, it's been either knocked down and rebuilt. It's also sort of had sort of occasions where somebody they kind of started this thing where they would the husband would turn up with their wife and try and sell them. There's been a lot of things which have gone on at the White Lion.
You see, I thought I had an old pub. Mine's 16th century.
Okay.
So, 40, that is super, super old. I am so interested in to hear your story.
2007, there was the last time they had like what we call the ghost hunters into the building. They found sort of things which have happened in the pub. Supposedly on the first floor there was a lady who hung herself on the stairs. I've had people who have been managers at the pub previously for many years that have come in and told me about, downstairs in the cellar, things were sort of going on the floor, crashing and banging and all this type of thing. And then one occasion I had another customer who was sort of down there and she heard the door. She went into a room and the door behind her slammed. And there was no explanation, there was no wind or anything.
So have you personally felt anything? Has any hairs stand on the back of your neck?
Absolutely. When you're in the pub there by yourself, when you're in the basement, that's where all the hocus pocus is going on.
Foundations of everything. Yeah.
You can feel it. You can feel like things, noises. You can feel something in the air or something that causes you to think.
Let me get straight. I'm guessing you're about the only member of staff that will change the barrel then down there. How scared are your staff of going down there?
No, not really, because obviously it's more during the daytime. There's nothing. It's like normal for the staff. It's just when it's quiet. There's nobody else in the building, and it's usually me who's late in the night, just messing around, tidying up, doing things the next day, and that's when these things happen.
And you hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hear it, feel it.
So you're a real believer then?
There was things that went on.
Right.
But and you say you feel it. Can you describe this? What is this feeling like?
You just feel as if someone's there. Yeah. You know, that's the thing.
Like somebody's watching you.
Yeah. You just feel as if they're not communicating with you, but you just feel as if
you're not alone.
I don't get scared of them. It's just something that you just feel is there. It's part of the history. So you have to kind of take it all on board that these people are there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had it. I've also had ghost hunters around my pub.
Yeah.
And we used to, I mean, the lady's gone now, but we used to go, especially in our cellar. And one of my team members was working in there, and we had like a box of tools, and that got thrown across the room. It wasn't just falling down there. It got hurtled across the room. And I've had similar feelings that and I've never really had ghosty experiences, but it is literally you're there and your hair goes up on the back of your neck and you just feel, and it goes colder and you just feel something's there. When was the last time you experienced a disturbance?
It's probably a couple of months ago, really.
Oh, really? Okay, so
it's probably over the Christmas period. It's one time after a really busy sort of shift at Christmas. You're walking around downstairs, and all of a sudden there's like a noise, and it's nothing there, and you go back to where you were meant to be, and then the noise is there again.
But I mean, we've got these buildings that have been around a very long time.
Right.
They've probably seen, a few births and a few deaths and sometimes the old spirits
my
get a bit
first
stuck.
pub, two pensioners passed away in a corner of my first pub before we got there. We've been told about this and stuff. But so many of these buildings, you're right, they're old.
Yeah,
they're old.
They got a lot of history.
They're suffused with history.
Energy.
And is that right? Energy.
I mean, obviously, I've had also people that want to have kind of like seances in the pub.
In the Ouija board out.
Seances?
They do. But I've been told not to do that.
Yeah, because
that can upset whatever there might be there.
What we did, my ghost hunters got rid of the spirit. Released it, because that spirit, and when they start kind of chucking things and kind of letting people know that they're there, it's because they're agitated. They want to be here anymore. They want to go on to the next life or whatever it is. So it
might be worth sort of maybe looking into.
Yeah, exactly, to release them.
So could you feel the release when they were gone? Did it feel
It was the weirdest thing because, well, number one, we haven't had any disturbances since then. And they stayed up like all night. I left them to it. And they stayed up all night and they did whatever they need to do. And then they said that she was released, and we haven't had anything since then. So I'm a believer now. I really, really am.
Right, you're like this. You see, I've only had 3 pubs so far. On to number 3, and in all 3 of them, though, I have done exactly that. Just sat there for a very good long time, and it's not about believing in ghosts or not or anything as well. From that side of things, I think it's about because as you say, these are old places,
Yeah.
right? They're old places and they should be treated with respect. And that was the reason, just to sit with the building.
Yeah, and make friends.
Yeah, that's right. Make friends with the building. It sounds really silly, right? But you have to make friends with the pub, don't you?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. I want to kind of go back to the beginning. So, as I touched on earlier on, you've been in the industry a long time, 40 years.
Yeah.
How did it all start? How did you get into hospitality?
I think basically because I was rubbish at school.
Yeah.
I didn't get my qualifications.
Me too.
So I went to college and did a hotel and catering management course.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
know what I mean? So I did a bit of cooking and learned things like the restaurants and obviously management within a hotel. And then from there, I went to work in one of the hotels in Manchester on a trainee management scheme, which you work 70 hours and you got paid £70. But you just kind of, it just becomes part of your life. It's kind of, you're either in it or you're not, for me.
Yeah.
And then from there you learn, because obviously, you learn from general managers, people with experience. They tell you how you should do things, how you don't do things. And from those experiences, then you kind of progress it into different establishments, ranging from hotels, back in the day when nightclubs were still big, you know what I mean, into those, restaurants, bars, pubs. So the progression was moving in that direction.
Why did you choose hospitality? Did you have family in it?
At school, I liked cooking, so I went into the cooking side of it. But then sort of one of my other first jobs was actually working in an old people's home as a chef. I hated it.
Oh, no.
It was just because you cook the food to death. Because they had no teeth, so they couldn't chew anything. So I just thought, this is not the way forward with this. This is just horrific.
It's got to be a bit more art.
Yeah. So I just thought, oh no, I can't do this. I went into one of the big kitchens in Manchester, and the head chefs, if they didn't do anything, you were ducking pans and plates because they just weren't happy if you didn't deliver the food, or if the food came back in. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that food. Take it back out there and tell that customer there's nothing wrong with it. And then next thing, the pan would get hurled out over your head.
And you mentioned food a lot. I mean, what's the ultimate pub meal, in your opinion?
Well, when it's fish and chips, where we are at the moment, the White Line, the fish and chips are amazing.
Yeah.
The fish is all fresh, straight from the North Sea. Comes in every day. You have to make our own beer batter.
Oh,
and obviously make our own chips, and it's good.
Oh.
And so you proper kind of pub grub.
Yeah. Fish and chips, pie and chips, bangers and mash, burgers, that type of thing.
What's your go-to?
You can't go wrong if you're in a good pub with the fish and chips. It's a staple.
Yeah,
I
mean,
really
you're right.
love it. As long as it's not too oily, and but you're talking about a nice level pub.
Yes, I mean, it's a special thing. I like good pie as well.
Mashy peas.
Mashy peas.
Mashy peas.
Mashy peas, not mushy. Mushy peas, not minty peas, but mushy peas.
Yeah, there's always a bit of thing with that, with mushy peas and garden peas.
Right.
You see, I like garden.
A bit of a divide.
See, that's right. The mushy pea is marrow fat. It's a different thing entirely. A marrow fat pea. It's not a pretty pois that's been scrunched up with a bit of mint.
And I wanted to touch on, because you got the smart dispense.
Yeah.
Having been in the industry for so long, what was your personal view of pints before seeing them come out of the smart dispense?
I think when I went to the White Line and said, "Oh, we're having this smart defence," I went, "Oh no."
Oh really? You didn't want it?
There we go. So you just thought it's some sort of gimmicky system. You know what I mean, really. So I wasn't first of all taken in by it. Right. I just thought, okay, we're having this. It's meant to save us money. Yeah, of course, sure it is. But obviously, down the line, it's transpired the system is really, really efficient, delivering a good pint all the time on all different products that we sell. So you have to take your hats off to a system which is helping the business maintain a good level of standards on service and also on the actual product.
Yeah. Because, it's so important, as we all know, serving that amazing, perfect pint.
I found previously, with cellars and temperatures in cellars and the equipment perhaps not being good and it being old and whatever, you were getting different temperatures on the pints.
Yeah.
And people kind of would say, "Oh, that's not cold enough, or that's too warm, or whatever." Yeah. Whereas this one, it just gives a constant sort of, the pint hits it all nail on the head. And other systems, when you're really busy, You know what I mean? It can't cope with the amount of pints going out. So it then affects the sort of the actual temperature of the pint.
Creeps up, doesn't it, over a long service?
Yeah.
When you're...
And that's when you don't get your nice heads, and that's when you don't get your bubbly bits in it, you know what I mean? Because it's just not able to cope with the actual, the amount of... Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had that problem. Very slow drinkers and sorry.
Yeah, exactly. How long was the pub closed for then?
It was like well over a decade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's a big amount of time.
So it's like this day and age, not many pubs that have been closed that amount of time.
Normally get turned into houses.
Well, houses, apartments, offices. Yeah.
And still have community around that remember and know and love them.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah,
that haven't moved on and moved away.
Because I didn't realise, obviously, when I started there, the actual connection that it's brought since opening from the local community all around Stockport. It just feels as if there's a connection. You can tell people coming back in because it has such an iconic sort of feel to the town. It brings people back from when they were younger. You know, you're getting people that drank in the pub 40, 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago before it shut.
Yeah, nostalgic.
So they're all back coming in, going, and they're all going, yeah, I remember where, the jukebox was there, and the pool table was there, and I remember this. And I had a guy who come in, like not long ago, he actually came in and he said to me sort of like he came in with his dad, and unfortunately his dad had passed away. The last time he was in, they put a song on it. So he said, would you mind if I played the song for his dad, last time he was in with his dad? And I played it. And he became so emotional because it brought back sort of that experience of when he was last in the pub with his dad.
What do you do to get people coming in? I'm not only just pouring a perfect pint, but do you do other things to...
We show a lot of live sport.
Do sports,
Yeah, so we do the Sky stuff and all that sort of thing, which obviously brings a lot of people in. And on top of that, we do a lot of functions, whether that's sort of, birthdays, celebrations, weddings, etc. So all this brings the business in.
Does Stockport have a football team?
Yeah.
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 Do you show their games?
Yeah.
So the community turn out for that?
Yeah. Well, they're starting to realise that obviously the White Line is we show it, all their games live, home and away, rather than just have the usual Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. You want to kind of support the local team.
I totally agree.
That's brilliant.
And they get good crowds. I think they get up to around about 10,000 people per game.
No, it's lovely seeing, people kind of really putting a lot of money and dedication and effort into the smaller clubs. And it's so lovely seeing, these stories of them coming up through the different leagues.
Yeah,
it's great.
I hope they don't go up too fast, because you see a lot of these teams that go up too fast and then they all...
Yeah, face plant down.
Yeah.
I reckon that's a good point to have a little break, and you guys can have a little waffle about football in a minute. But yeah, we'll be back in a bit and talking about breathing new life into an old pub.
Welcome back to Three Landlords Walk Into a Bar. We are here with Mark Chalmers from the White Lion in Stockport, a pub that is rumoured to be haunted. Mark, so we always start the second half with something called the Dream Round Rotation. And this is basically if you're going to get a lock-in at your pub amongst a few ghosties, and you had to have three people, alive or past, who would they be and why?
Probably my first one would be Bruce Forsyth.
Oh, Brucey.
Yeah.
I love
the old Brucey bonus. I just always enjoyed seeing him on TV. I've never met the guy, but he always came across as a lovely guy, proper genuine. I'd always would fancy having a sit down and just kind of like hear some of his stories, at the bar with a pint and all the rest of it, about all the things he's done, the Generation Game.
Yeah.
Strictly Come Dancing.
I did Strictly.
Did you?
Yeah, he was hosting it. It was long ago.
So it'd be great to have been able to sort of sit down with him. My other one is a bit of an icon in football. Is Eric Cantona.
You like a bit of poetry?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But he was just always, because obviously Sporting United back from the 70s and the 80s when they weren't doing anything, and obviously sort of the manager Ferguson came in, and then he Cantona turned up, and then United had lots of success. I've actually met him, and he's
charming.
Yeah. He's really nice guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was a bit in awe of.
Yeah, he's got a charisma, right?
Yeah.
When he walks into
in the
a
room, everyone's like, "Oh,
yeah,
wow,
totally."
And my third one would a lady called Raquel Welsh.
Oh, Welsh.
Did you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I had a bit of a thing for her.
Was she on your wall? I think she was
She
on
was, yeah, she was,
many
yeah.
a little
Yeah,
boy's
yeah.
wall.
So I'd have a few glasses of champagne with her.
Anyone famous you wouldn't have?
Come on, give us one little kind of exciting story that might have happened.
One of the places I worked at in Manchester is when David Beckham turned up with Victoria.
Yeah, no way.
They closed the bar down and they turned up and went into the VIP area, and he'd only just met her. So this was like a big thing at the time. You know what I mean? Because obviously sort of he was a big footballer at the Premier League team.
She was a Spice Girl.
Yeah, and she was a Spice
Yeah,
Girl.
huge.
And it wasn't public knowledge. Beckham's manager, Alex Ferguson, didn't like the fact that this was going on. But so he was going to places behind closed doors. So he turned up at the place where I was managing. And obviously his management company said, we need to book out the VIP for a VIP. And they wouldn't tell me who it was.
Right.
It's been, they just said, okay, whatever, that's fine, just turn up. And then next minute, he turns up with these two. But that was quite an amazing. And plus on top of that, his management gave me a load of free sportswear. So that was really good as well.
Nice.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I mean, you must have seen a lot in Manchester. There was a lot, a lot of shenanigans in Manchester.
Yeah. And then the other, I think one other place I was managing is we'd Take That before Take That sort of kicked off or became big.
Yeah,
they sort of turned up this nightclub where I was managing, and they were sort of still small time. You know what I mean? They turned up and they said, "Oh, we got this." I went, "Oh, right, okay," and they came and I thought, "Yeah, they're rubbish then."
No.
And then 6 months later, bang, they're like sort of
biggest boy band ever.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they played in this nightclub, and there was probably about 50, 60, 70 people. You just think, this day and age, they're filling stadiums, they're filling, with thousands of people. At the time, they were just kind of like young lads, just messing around.
The heydays of the Northwest.
I mean,
who's the most famous person you've had to bar?
Both the Gallaghers.
No, both of them at the same time.
Well, they came into the bar where I was at. And they mean coming. It's before they were famous. It's before they were famous, back in the 80s.
When they liked each other.
Probably, yeah.
But
they would always come last minute when we were wanting to close the bar. And they turned up there thinking they could do what they want. Do you know who I am? And I went, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And in the end, they just pushed it too far and I said, look, both of you, you're out. Go on.
Seriously.
Out. Yeah. But
Did they give you a lot of God back?
Yeah, of course they do. They still give plenty of God back to anybody now, don't they? Nothing's changed. Just a lot more richer, aren't they, these days? Now, you probably wouldn't kick them out now because you probably want them in your bar to fill it and spend loads of money.
And bringing it back to your pub. So, I mean, you mentioned that it was closed for a long time. So it's reopened in the last year. So tell me about that whole process.
It's been closed for like over a decade. And then obviously the owners sort of obviously got involved with the council. So the first one, second floor was then changed into apartments. So it was left with the basement and the ground floor. But the basement hadn't been used in the past at all. It was used as kitchen storage areas, cellars, etc., etc. We've decided that obviously sort of it was then going to become a bar. An areas so we can actually show sports, we can have it as functions, we can just do anything, for small gigs or anything like that downstairs. It took a lot of time in trying to decide how it was going to work and how it was going to, make it sort of worthwhile in doing, because there's no point open area and then not be able to get people downstairs.
So it was a serious refurb.
Yeah. The council has to take, a fair
You
thing
have
out
to do
because
it hand
they've
in
been
hand.
involved in it, because obviously they've made it their flagship sort of place for showing other investors into the area, into wanting to make that Stockport a better place for businesses to get people to come back into the town centre to spend money and help other businesses sort of build from that.
It's like a domino effect, isn't it, really? If you see one person doing it or something as important as a pub, that, then the next person comes in, it builds confidence,
It's
doesn't
not
it?
all about one place, but,
It's the start.
someone has to start to try and get the people back in.
And as a catalyst, pubs are really important as well because they put people back on the street, right? People come out for the pub.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And plus as well, because it's a big pub, it kind of generates a better atmosphere when it's busy.
Yeah.
People love a big pub with all the goings on, all the different voices.
It's a happy noise, a happy
Yeah,
buzz.
because people walk through the door and go, wow, it's amazing.
Mark, what would your one piece of advice for someone that was going to open a pub in a nowadays world?
Do your homework on where the venue is, making sure you've got enough financial sort of things, because you don't know, one day to the next, how busy your business is going to be. And ultimately, the day is be prepared to obviously to work long hours.
Yeah.
And ultimately as well is, obviously if you're taking on staff, obviously make sure you get the right staff, train them in the right direction to where you want to be. Let them, understand how you want the business to run.
Because, you've had such a lovely long career within the industry. If you were to go back 40 years and tell yourself one bit of advice, what would it be?
I think you've got to have the passion. I think you've got to feel as if at the days when you go in every day, you enjoy it. And try and install that into, young people who are looking to progress in this industry. And I try to say to them, look, you have to feel that passion in where you want to go and what you want to do. If you want to have those nights out, you want to go partying, if you want to go and do this and all the rest of it, it's probably difficult to have that kind of involvement in the industry because it has to take part of your life.
Because it's clear that, I'm 30 years in the trade, 40 as well, right? So, we've seen attitudes change hugely over that time. What's your training and service like then? Do you still describe yourself as an old school landlord? Does that still apply?
Yeah, I think so. I like that though. I like that I'm old school.
And you seem like you're a stickler for sort of high standards as well, by the sounds of it. And how do you go about maintaining those in your place then?
I just bark a little bit at the staff.
Are you a barker?
You took that habit with you out of the kitchen.
Yeah, I just think it's over years of working for very demanding general managers I've worked for in the past. And I think one of my first general managers always turned around to me, never assume anything, always make sure that you check everything is done correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you assume something is done, it will not be done. I think it's all about giving the customer the service they want.
It always comes back to the same thing, isn't it? It's people. Right?
People's people.
People's people. Even when they're ghostly in apparitions.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Little old lady. You can see through her, but she sits at the end of the bar drinking a ghostly glass of port. Can you imagine?
Just thank you so much. Honestly, I wish you all the luck for the future and for the summer. I can't wait to come up to Stockport.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to come and have a drink in the bar with us.
Yeah,
it'd be
absolutely.
Really good. Yeah.
No, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, my love. And
cheers.
Cheers.
I mean, what a nice man. I mean, a long, long time in the industry and then to get 40 years in and then to take over a pub that's haunted. And he came across as a guy that kind of wouldn't be, kind of believing in any of that, until he actually really saw it.
But he was convinced.
He was. And he was a bit embarrassed. When I said, come on, tell us about it, do you really believe? And he was a bit kind of like embarrassed to go, actually, I really do.
Yeah. Felt stuff.
Yeah,
right?
he did. Yeah,
You
because it really freaked him out.
Which is interesting because it means he's alive to his own feelings in that sense, right? It's not just like he's closed it out and dismissed all possibility.
Yeah.
He clearly has an open mind.
He's old school. He doesn't want to have ghosts and ghoulies being in the same room as him.
Can you imagine?
Lovely, cool guy.
I think that for me is a great takeaway there as well, is that after 40 years and so many different sort of approaches to hospitality, several things stay true. That it's always, again, it's that relentless focus on our customers, right? Our guests, our friends, our locals, our communities. Yeah. And it's so encouraging to see someone after 40 years with still a real twinkle in their eye, a genuine love for what they're doing.
No, it's so true. And also really lovely to hear that, the council are working alongside investors into breathing new life into Stockport and to cities and villages and towns. up and down the UK, bringing life back into the high streets.
Absolutely, Jodie. Yeah, hospitality as a catalyst for regeneration, completely.
No, really, really fascinating. Right. Well, that brings us to the end of our chat with Mark. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. Do make sure you follow us on your podcast app or on YouTube. And if you want to drop us a nice comment or a review, then you'll always be welcome at our pub.
Certainly you would. And we will be back very soon speaking to more of the people behind some of the most incredible pubs in the UK. We'll see you then.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.